A high-vibration woman does not win men through performance, persuasion, or emotional strategy. She changes the emotional weather simply by being whole. Her calm is not numbness, and her confidence is not arrogance. It comes from doing the hard inner work most people avoid, the kind that turns you from trying to be chosen into already choosing yourself. And the moment she steps into a connection, something gets exposed fast. What is real rises to the surface, and what is fake starts to wobble. She does not have to chase the truth reacts to her. Here's the question most women never think to ask, and when you finally do, it lands like a revelation. What if he is not confused about you at all? What if he is confused because you are no longer the kind of woman he can manage? Because once you stop bending, soothing, and explaining yourself into exhaustion, his usual playbook stops working. And when a man's playbook fails, he calls it chemistry is off, he calls it bad timing. He calls it, I don't know what I want. But deep down, what he is really facing is this. He cannot control the version of you that used to make his life easy. A lot of women in their 40s and 50s know this shift in their bones. In the past, you could talk your way around discomfort. You could make excuses for mixed signals. You could turn disappointment into patience. You could swallow your needs and tell yourself you were being mature, loving, and understanding. But after you have healed even a little, your body stops cooperating with that performance. You can still be kind. You can still be warm. You just cannot abandon yourself to keep a connection alive. And that is when certain men start acting strangely. Not because you are too much, but because you are no longer doing all the emotional heavy lifting. When you become calmer, some men get louder. When you become clearer, some men get vague. When you stop chasing, some men start testing. They pull back for a day and wait for you to panic. They send a dry message and see if you will overcompensate. They say they are busy, but somehow they are never too busy to keep you in confusion. And suddenly, you see the painful truth. It was never about how much you cared. It was about how much effort you were willing to spend to keep the relationship comfortable for him. Here is the lived wisdom most women earn the hard way. The parts of him he has not dealt with will look for a place to land. If you are the kind of woman who always explains, always forgives, always fixes, you become the landing spot. But when you are the kind of woman who stays steady, who tells the truth without begging, who does not chase clarity from someone committed to vagueness, there is nowhere for his confusion to hide. Your presence does not punish him, it simply refuses to carry what is not yours. That is why some men get reactive. Not because you are difficult, but because your wholeness removes their leverage. They cannot pull you with silence. They cannot hook you with uncertainty. They cannot feed off your proving. They have to meet you with maturity, or they have to step away. And if they step away, it is not always a loss. Sometimes it is the clearest confirmation you could have gotten. Here is your 30-second field check. Use it every time and trust what it tells you. After any call, date, or text exchange, ask, do I feel calm and clear, or tight and trying? Do I feel more like myself, or like I need to perform? If you feel tight and tired, that is your answer. Your nervous system is picking up what your mind is still negotiating. Save your energy. The right connection will not require you to prove your worth. You can feel it the moment the tone shifts. One day, he is warm and curious. The next day, he is slower to reply, a little sharper, a little vague, like someone quietly moving the goalposts. Not because he is busy, but because he is watching to see if you will tighten up, watching to see if you will chase, watching to see if your piece is real or if it can be pulled like a string. When someone is driven by insecurity, they often test you through subtle games. They disappear for a few hours after a great date, then come back with a casual, "Hey stranger," like it is cute. They drop a teasing comment that lands a little too close to disrespect, then wait to see if you laugh it off. They give just enough attention to keep you leaning forward, then take it away to see if you will work harder. And the most confusing part is that the game is rarely obvious. It is disguised as, I'm not big on labels, I just need space, I'm bad at texting, I've got a lot going on. but the effect is the same. It turns your nervous system into a slot machine. One pull gets you warmth, one pull gets you coldness, and without realizing it, you start spending your mental energy trying to predict the next outcome. This is where the idea of high vibration gets real and practical, not as a label, but as a way of moving. It is what it looks like when a woman is grounded in herself, when she regulates her emotions instead of outsourcing them, when she refuses to abandon her dignity just to keep someone interested. She is not cold. She is clear. She has met the part of herself that wants to overexplain, overgive, and prove her worth by being easy. And because she recognizes that pattern, she does not let it drive the relationship. So when someone pulls away to trigger fear, she does not sprint toward them with paragraphs. When someone goes quiet to regain control, she does not fill the silence with self-doubt. When someone sends mixed signals, she does not turn into a detective, she turns into a witness. In real life, this looks like reading a message that feels off and not rewriting your whole personality to fix it. It looks like not refreshing your inbox 20 times while pretending you are fine. It looks like not calling your friends to dissect every emoji, every pause, every lyle that replaced a real sentence. It looks like letting a grown adult sit with their own behavior without rushing in to soothe it. Because here is the central truth. If a connection requires you to abandon yourself, it is not a connection, it is a trap. The game collapses the moment you stop participating. Most emotional games only survive on one fuel source, your reaction, your urgency. You need to restore comfort, so you keep it clean. You do not argue, you do not plead your worth, you do not try to be understood by someone committed to misunderstanding you. You step back, and in that space, the truth shows itself. Use one boundary, sentence and end the loop. I'm going to step back instead of arguing. Then follow through with space, not speeches. Because when the game stops working, a deeper tactic often appears. He will try to take your energy instead. Attachment can feel like love, right up until you notice what it is doing to your body. A lot of women were taught to protect the relationship at all costs, even when the cost is their nervous system. So you stay on the phone while your stomach tightens. You keep texting while your chest feels heavy. You keep explaining the same basic point, hoping the right words will finally land, even as your energy leaks out hour by hour like a slow drip. You call it loyalty. You call it patience. But underneath all of that, your body is quietly keeping score. A grounded woman moves differently, not because she is above attachment, but because she has learned the difference between connection and consumption. She protects her energy first because she understands something most people learn too late. Love without self-possession becomes self-betrayal. When a conversation starts turning into a courtroom, she pauses. When the tone turns slippery and she feels herself shrinking, she gets quiet. Not as punishment, as sovereignty. As a woman, I will not pay for closeness with my peace. You see it in real life in small ordinary moments. It is a Saturday morning and he calls. But the call is not really a call, it is a download. Work stress, family drama, subtle complaints, and before you realize it, you are managing his mood. While he talks, you feel it in your body. Your shoulders rise, your jaw tightens, your breath gets shallow, you are contracting, trying to stay steady while your inner space gets smaller. Then the call ends. You hang up, and instead of feeling connected, you feel wrung out, like you just spent an hour cleaning up someone else's emotional mess, or you are out to dinner. The lighting is warm, the food is good, and for a moment, you feel open, you feel expansive, you feel like yourself. Then you mention something that matters to you, and he turns it into a joke. You're too sensitive. He pivots the topic back to himself. The air changes. Your body registers it before your mind can explain it. Your chest tightens. Your voice gets smaller. You start choosing words carefully. You are contracting again, not because you are weak, but because your system is trying to keep you safe. This is how emotional hunger hides in affection. It does not always look cruel. Sometimes it looks charming, needy, helpless, even romantic. But the outcome is always the same. Your energy gets used as proof that you care. And when you stop feeding that cycle, some men call you cold. They say, "You've changed. Why are you so distant?" "I was just talking." What they really mean is, you are no longer automatically available. You are no longer the emotional open bar. You are loyal to your inner life now. That is not coldness. That is discernment. That is a woman who stopped confusing anxiety with intimacy. Here is the practical shift, and it is simple enough to use immediately. After any call, date, or text exchange, take 1 minute and check your body like you are checking the weather. Do I feel heavier or lighter? Do I feel expanded or contracted? Do I feel clarity or confusion? Your body is the most honest data source you have because it does not care about excuses, potential, or promises. It only reports the truth. And here is what changes everything. The moment you stop protecting attachment and start protecting your energy, the dynamic shifts fast. If he cannot access you easily, he will try to win you with words. But you do not belong to anyone's persuasion. You belong to your own peace. Words are easy to offer when nothing is at stake. They flow effortlessly when life is smooth and no one is being tested. That is why an emotionally grounded woman listens with a different ear. She enjoys connection, warmth, even romance, but she no longer mistakes language for reliability. She has lived long enough to see how beautifully spoken promises can fold the moment pressure appears. So instead of leaning forward every time a man describes a future, she waits to see what happens when the story meets real life. The difference shows up in small, unglamorous moments. A dinner is planned for 7. He texts at 6:45 saying traffic is terrible. Does he apologize and give a new time, or does he arrive late and brush it off with a joke, expecting her to stay pleasant? A stressful week hits at work. Does he communicate that he is overwhelmed, or does he disappear for days and return acting as if nothing happened? She says no to something minor. Does he respect it? Or does his tone subtly cool, as if affection was conditional? These moments are quiet, but they are decisive. They reveal far more than grand speeches about commitment ever could. In everyday life, this pattern is painfully familiar. He says honesty matters to him, yet when she calmly raises a concern, he deflects with humor or flips it back onto her. He says he wants a partnership, but when tension arises, he withdraws and leaves her carrying the emotional weight alone. He talks about building something real, yet repeatedly forgets what matters to her or avoids conversations that require accountability. A woman who has done her inner work feels this mismatch immediately, not as panic or anger, but as a steady internal signal. Her body does not tighten with hope or dread. Her breathing stays even. She does not rush to smooth over the discomfort or explain it away. She lets the information land. She understands something many people never articulate. Some men are not looking for a partner. They are looking for someone to manage their inner world for them. They want relief, not reciprocity. They want calm without responsibility. They want her steadiness to compensate for what they have never learned to hold themselves. This is not always malicious. Often it is unconscious. A man may be charming, wounded, or even sincere, but beneath the connection is an unspoken request. Help me regulate. Help me feel okay. Carry what I avoid. An emotionally mature woman senses this pull quickly. She recognizes the familiar invitation to become the stabilizer, the listener, the emotional anchor. And this time, she does not accept the assignment. She does not shame him. She does not analyze him. She does not try to teach him how to grow. She simply steps back. Instead of rescuing, she pauses. Instead of fixing, she watches. Instead of building hope on intention, she grounds herself in behavior. This changes everything. The relationship becomes clear. It no longer runs on fantasy, potential, or projection. It runs on what is actually happening. Either he meets her with consistency, effort, and repair, or the connection slowly loosens. Not because she pushed it away, but because she stopped holding it together by herself. This is where many women feel both relief and grief at the same time. Relief because the confusion finally lifts. Grief because they realize how often they believed words while ignoring the quiet language of actions. Here is a simple and revealing practice. For 7 days, stop tracking what he says. Do not reply to messages. Do not analyze tone. Do not fill in gaps with hope. Only watch behavior. Does he follow through? Does he show up when it matters? Does he take responsibility when he misses the mark? Does his effort remain steady when things are inconvenient? Consistency brings calm. Empty promises create tension. Your body knows the difference long before your mind does, and when you stop building your sense of safety on words alone, something else comes into focus. The patterns that relied on charm, avoidance, or emotional outsourcing have nowhere to hide. And in that clarity, you finally see the truth without needing to chase it. Something subtle but deeply liberating happens when a woman realizes she no longer has to carry emotions that were never hers to begin with. The shift does not arrive through confrontation or long explanations. It arrives quietly, through presence. She becomes steadier, clearer, no longer available for distortion. And in that moment, everything begins to rearrange. Many women recognize this transition because they have lived both sides of it. There was a time when a tense conversation left her drained for days. She would replay words in her head, wonder what she did wrong, and soften her needs to restore peace. She absorbed the mood of the room like a sponge. Then one day, something changed. A familiar accusation surfaced, and instead of tightening or scrambling to fix it, she felt still. She listened. She did not rush in. The silence was new, but it was not empty. It was grounded. That was the day she became a mirror instead of a sponge. An emotionally grounded woman listens without taking ownership of someone else's reactions. She stays present without absorbing blame, volatility, or unresolved fear. When a man has not learned to integrate his inner world, meaning the parts of himself he avoids, denies, or never learned to regulate, those unexamined emotions look for somewhere to land. Often, they land on the nearest woman who has always carried them before. Accusations appear. She is suddenly distant, selfish, cold, or too much. Not because she changed, but because her boundaries interrupted an old emotional shortcut. This plays out in familiar scenes. She calmly expresses a need, and he reacts defensively, accusing her of creating problems. She asks for consistency, and he calls her controlling. She stops over-explaining, and he claims she is shutting him out. None of this is really about her. It is about what her steadiness brings to the surface in him. Instead of arguing her case or defending her character, she does something unexpected. She stays still. She does not rush to prove she is kind. She does not soften her truth to keep the peace. She lets his reaction belong to him. This is not emotional withdrawal. It is emotional maturity. Carl Jung spoke about the shadow as the parts of ourselves we have not yet faced or owned. When those parts remain unexamined, they seek expression through others. When a woman stops absorbing someone else's unprocessed emotions, those emotions have nowhere to hide. The mirror becomes clear. The man must either take responsibility for what he feels or escalate in an attempt to regain control. This is why calm women are sometimes met with anger. Chaos resists clarity. In everyday moments, this looks quiet but firm. When blamed unfairly, she responds without heat. That does not feel accurate to me. When accused of being cold for setting a boundary, she does not counterattack. I am not taking responsibility for that. She does not convince. She does not collapse. She lets the truth stand on its own. This is the mirror rule in action. When you feel attacked, pause and ask yourself one honest question. Is this truly about me, or is this about what he cannot face in himself? Then respond with one clear line and no extra explanation. Clarity does not require defense. Here is the freedom many women discover at this stage. When she refuses to absorb what does not belong to her, the relationship reaches its real test. Without emotional outsourcing, without control, without projection, what remains is reality. Either the connection deepens through accountability or it falls away under truth. And in either outcome, she remains intact. Because a woman who chooses herself does not lose love, she loses illusion. And what she gains is something far more enduring, self-respect, inner peace, and the unshakable knowledge that her worth was never up for negotiation. Sometimes the ending shows up in whispers, long before anything dramatic happens. It's the tightness in your chest when you're standing at the kitchen counter, rereading his last text, thumb hovering over the screen while you rewrite a simple sentence 3 different ways. It's the way you swallow a truth at dinner because you can already feel the mood shift coming. It's the tiny decision to let it go again, not because you truly feel at peace, but because you're tired of paying the price of being honest. These are not blow-ups, they are signals. And an emotionally grounded woman learns to treat signals as sacred information, not something to override. Most women were taught to leave only after something obvious breaks. A betrayal, a lie, a moment so loud it cannot be explained away. But women who have done real inner work recognize another kind of loss, the slow self-erosion that happens while everything still looks fine on paper. Healthy patience feels steady. It has breath in it. It says, we are human, we can repair, we can learn. Self-erosion feels like shrinking. It asks you to keep lowering your needs so the relationship can keep its shape. You start editing your feelings to be more acceptable. You soften your truth so it lands more easily. You tell yourself you're being mature, but your body keeps a different record. Sleep gets lighter. Joy dulls at the edges. After conversations, you feel hungry instead of held. In real life, the moments are small, almost invisible. You mention something that matters to you while the dishwasher hums in the background, and he nods without really hearing you. Later, he's animated about his own day, and you realize your words disappeared into the air. You ask for clarity and get charm instead. A joke, a kiss, you're overthinking, delivered like a lullaby meant to quiet you. When you name a pattern, the conversation slips sideways into minimizing, distraction, or blame. No explosion, no villain, just a quiet refusal to repair. And gradually, you notice it. You are doing the emotional lifting for 2. Not because you love more, but because you're the only one treating the relationship like something that needs care. You keep adjusting. You keep explaining. You keep hoping the next conversation will finally land, while a part of you grows tired of waiting. That's when she chooses differently, not out of anger and not to punish, but out of self-respect. She realizes that waiting for a dramatic ending is sometimes just another way of abandoning herself. So she leaves earlier. She leaves when the pattern becomes clear and consistent. She leaves at the point where staying requires her to keep shrinking to stay connected. She leaves when she feels more like a caretaker than a partner. And she honors a simple truth. Love should not require her to disappear. The grief still comes because she is not made of stone. She misses the good moments. She mourns the future she imagined. But she does not go back to what costs her center because she finally understands the real price of returning. 1,000 small betrayals of the self, paid quietly, paid daily, until she forgets what she even wanted in the first place. Here is the clearest test. If you are repeatedly explaining basic respect, silencing your feelings, or feeling afraid of honesty, you are not practicing healthy patience. You're practicing self-erosion. Let that be your signal to step back and reassess with clear eyes. And this is the final truth. She does not leave it to control the outcome. She leaves to protect her soul. In doing so, she does not handle men at all. She reveals what is real. And once she stops abandoning herself, whatever happens next is no longer chaos. It is clarity.
If this touched something sacred inside you, don't let it fade into silence. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your presence here is not just support, it's resonance. And if you feel moved to give back, your donation becomes a quiet but powerful gesture that helps keep this light alive for others still walking in the dark.